don't need to get up this morning. It's Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
Ouch, wait, you're on my hair. Hey, can I have the car this afternoon?
I guess so.
Okay.
Doing shopping?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. There.
Yes.
Mommy, Dad took my new red skirt. She won't give it back to me.
Like the door should have been locked.
It's such an intimate moment. It shouldn't be intruded upon, not even by your own children. I know that once this happened to us, but I wasn't so very totally embarrassed, and I tried to keep my voice as natural as possible and tried not to relay a guilt feeling to her or to shun the child away that this was dirty what we were doing, and wow, you seen something that you should not have seen. But since she did see it, it was nothing else to do. And I asked her naturally to close the door, please, and not get very upset. If she had asked me something about it afterwards, I would have been very honest with her. But it didn't come up after that, and she closed the door and went back out.
What I would never feel embarrassed. I would just invite him to come on, and always making sure I had a nightgown on, because it kind of makes you feel more like nothing's really going on bad. Mommy's got her nightgown on.
There was the one day that my own daughter walked in the bedroom. I didn't have the door closed, but I was getting ready to go to work, and I was just there. And she walked in just chattering away, and she said, "Oh, Mom, when I get big like you, I'll have hair like that too, won't I?" And I said, "Yes, you sure will." And she just said, "Oh," and flew right out of the room.
I am very free about walking around in nightgowns, and it's nothing. I mean, we don't seem to get too embarrassed. I think sometimes Bruce gets embarrassed, but they have to be aware if they're bringing company in, because I like freedom, and I wear, I guess you would say, nylon nightgowns, and I don't feel embarrassed because I think I try to tell them that the human body is beautiful and you shouldn't be embarrassed about it. And we don't lock doors all the time. And
when children were very young, they didn't rap on doors and didn't respect always a closed door, and would often walk in on me when I was in the bathroom, when I was getting dressed in the bedroom. And I simply went about what I was doing and answered their questions in as normal a tone of voice as possible. And again, however, I admit that I felt uncomfortable.
I must have been about 12 years old, and I can remember walking into my folks' bedroom when they were having intercourse. And I saw my mother in a strange position, and I said, "You know, what happened to Ma?" Next thing I knew, I was out in the hallway and the door was closed. And there was never any explanation made.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, honey.
Tom, this is my mother.
Hi, Mrs. Barrows.
Mom, this is Tom.
Hello, Tom.
Oh, Tom, you just won't believe this. You've got to see it. Come on.
Hello, dear.
Hi. Where's Betty?
Upstairs.
Upstairs? She can't be doing her homework now.
No, she's with a friend, Tom.
Tom? Who's Tom?
Well, actually, I've never met him before, but he's very nice.
Where exactly are they upstairs?
Well, I think in her bedroom.
How long have they been there?
About an hour.
I think you better get upstairs and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that mother could have spared herself a lot of problems.
This particular instance should have never happened because this should have been clarified years and years before she's this old, that you do not bring someone in like this and go to the bedroom.
Tom and I would not agree because I feel, having lived in places where there wasn't a family room, okay, and the living room, kitchen, dining area was open, that my child's home at teenagers, when they want privacy, is their bedroom. And therefore, with my permission, they feel free to entertain friends, whether they're male or female, and have always in their bedroom. And my feeling is that I either trust my kids or I don't.
But I don't think it's necessarily a matter of trusting or not trusting a child, because I trust myself. There's nobody in this world that I trust more than I trust myself, and I've done some stupid things. How much maturity does a young kid have? You know, obviously not a whole lot, because we have a whole lot of teenagers in trouble sexually.
It's really interesting to me that when kids are young, I mean, we don't question if they're in the room with the door closed with another boy, you know, two boys together, two girls together, we don't question what they're doing. I mean, nobody ever says, well, what are you doing in there? You know, want to check on them. But if they're in the room with a person of the opposite sex, then automatically we think, we better check.
That's a really interesting point about our different reactions, because most people I've talked to who have been through some kind of childhood sex play experiences did it with someone of the same sex.
Well, I read something different in the film, and that is that mother was comfortable with daughter's behavior, but that dad wasn't. And I really believe that many times there is this that goes on in American society, where dad feels quite protective of his daughter and her virginity, and that they're much more apt to be suspicious of the boy in their daughter's life than mother is, who probably is closer and has been traditionally closer to her daughter as she grows up, okay? And who may not even think at this point in time. The mother just didn't think, all right, it's a friend and she brings friends home and here's another friend. And all of a sudden, Dad begins to react, and he says, no, you can't have phone calls and come in. I want to meet this boy, and I put him through a 3rd degree.
Mother, I do agree with you that fathers are probably just outrageous when it comes to protecting their daughters. Because I made a statement, my son, it was always fine for him to fool around with the girls when he was 12, 13, 14 years old. But the daughter, she met some boy at the swimming pool, and he came over to the house. Well, I let her know right quick in so many words, such as, you're not going to have no snotty-nosed boy running around here after you.
I couldn't help but recall an experience our daughter had when she was in 1st and 2nd grade. She had a wonderful, playful relationship with a neighborhood boy. They were very compatible. And we took this neighborhood boy with us to visit Grandma and Grandpa in the North Woods, and the kids slept out on the porch, and we had a swam. We had a wonderful time. And they remained good friends in school. And in 4th grade, he still brought a sleeping bag over on one occasion, and everything was just fine, very healthy. But then 5th grade came along, and they still wanted to do this, and the mother and I had a discussion about it. Now, when does this stop? When do we arbitrarily decide to stop this kind of a thing? And is there anything, there's nothing sexual that we were aware of, but they're naturally becoming curious at this age.
My daughter has a boyfriend, and they do to kiss and hug. In fact, I asked her, I said, do you ever get embarrassed that we're right there? And I'll say, oh, smooching again, huh? And that's fine. It's a different thing to have sexual intercourse.
I'm afraid if I openly condone their sexual activities, You're gonna go really be, go all out, wild. So I hold the lid on it a little, no, well, they get low, But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's out of your hands anyway.
Well, I don't agree with me, but it's a real feeling.
I think you start, giving them opportunities to make decisions, not making all the decisions for them, but I think that can start at a very young age, allowing them to make decisions. And I think when they learn, that responsibility and respect for themselves as a person, that they're not about to do anything that they don't feel comfortable with, whether it's sex or alcohol or whatever.
In early America, young courting couples often bundled to keep warm and cozy, but they were expected to keep their clothes on and behave.
In the Trobriand Islands, adolescent boys and girls were free to spend the night in huts like these and do as they pleased.
In Old Spain, an unmarried young couple could be together only in the presence of a chaperone.
Today, the expected pattern of behavior for young people is,
Hi, Billy.
Hi.
How'd everything go today?
Great.
Did you get dinner at Jim's?
Yeah.
Billy, can I come in?
Yeah, sure.
How's it going?
Okay.
I've been wanting to rap with you a little about sex and things like that.
Yeah, well, I guess there's not much like it.
Right. Well, I know you know about it.
Yeah.
I mean the basics of bees and the flowers and things like that. But I thought that there might be some things you're still not clear about.
Probably. But I can't think of anything right at the moment.
Well, if you think of anything, I mean, even if it's a little thing, you'd ask me about it, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, I mean...
The way I saw it is that, he really didn't want to come out and talk about it. And he was very embarrassed and...
He really has a guilty complex himself about sex somewhere. He must feel that it's dirty or it's just not to be talked about. Because if you wait till he's that old before you're going to teach him about the birds and the bees, he can teach you all kinds of things.
You don't just discuss something significant like that, off the top of your head. I think any discussion about anything of value comes from relating and experiencing together.
Wayne Jr. said to Wayne one time, "Dad, when you have sex with Mom, does it feel good?" And his father looked at him and said, "Yes, it sure does." And then there was another time when he had been out on the street playing with the kids, and he came running into the house crying, and he said, "Mother, do you know anything about screwing?" And I said, "Well, should I?" Kind of trying to collect my thoughts to see how I was going to approach it. We had gone through this before, but it just seemed totally different. Hearing it called screwing instead of making love or intercourse. Well, he told me what they had said, and he said, "I know that's not true because I know my Aunt Lois and Uncle Joe wouldn't do anything like that." So I called his father at work, and I said, "I need to talk to you tonight, first thing when you come home." And when his father talked to him, he said, "Well, sex is not a dirty thing. It's a very pure and holy and good thing between two people that love each other. He said, now, if I went out and had sex with Mrs. Clark or Mrs. Beck, and he named off the different neighbors, he said, then it would be a dirty thing. But with your mother, it's just the most wonderful thing in the world.
Well, I find it difficult not having a male role in my house, of being a single parent. And trying to talk to my son is very hard. Very, very difficult. I don't want to confuse him, no more than he probably is already, by just me trying to be both mom and dad at the same time. And I know that he doesn't want me to marry. He doesn't want a father. He doesn't want a man around me, not a father, because he feels that nobody's going to replace his dad, even though his father does spend a lot of time with him. But the majority of the time, he's with me.
I have a grandson, and at the time, he was 3 years old. And he went down the street to play, and he had a sexual experience. They tried to with the little girl, 7. And, you know, at first I didn't believe him until he went on to tell me that she took off her underwear, took off his pants, and he explained it. And we had to really sit down and try and make him, give him some idea as to this is something that you don't do. You could have easily been hurt. Well, we tried it in that manner because how would you tell a 3-year-old all about sex?
It all goes back to the attitudes the parents have again, you know, dealing with things. Although I must admit, with my 13-year-old, when she got her period, she was in the bathroom and she's, oh, Mom. And I said, what's the matter? And she's, oh, ick. And we had talked about it, you know, how neat it was. And I said, oh, that's, I said, what's the matter? And she's, you know what's the matter. And she was in the bathroom, you know, and we had gone through all, you know, the process of what girl, you know, how girls begin to menstruate in the process, you know, and how nice it is and everything. And she just, and I said, oh, now that means that you're ready to have children. And she said, I think I want to adopt all my children. And she wanted no part of it. And the other 2 older girls just thought it was really a neat thing. So each child is different too, you know, and you have to relate to each one differently. And when they're ready, you know, they're never ready when you are. You know, you have all these answers ready, and then they'll come in like before school and say, okay, I want to know where babies come from. You know, and you know they're going to be late for school if you take the time to give them a big lecture.
I think it would be fair to bring up a question at this point. We all agree that this guy was too late in the vignette, right? But let's assume that we all also made that mistake, and we're too late, and now something's happening with our teenage son or daughter, and we should have dealt with it earlier, but we didn't. Is there a way to deal with him, and when he doesn't, or her, when he or she doesn't want to talk? And we feel that if we don't communicate some sort of information, that there could be an unhappy accident of some kind. I don't know.
My parents never really did talk to me about sex and, you know, whatever. I kind of wish they would have, because it would have helped me.
I've really never talked to my parents because they just don't, you know, it's just never discussed. I have a married sister, and it's discussed with her, but my time's coming is what they say.
I don't know, I think there's really a big gap, and that's like the biggest gap is sex, because parents just don't ever, it's like taboo, you know, when it comes to their kids.
Try to come. I think it'll be a good meeting.
I don't know. I think kids ought to get their moral values at home.
Sure, but they need accurate information, too. And a lot of them aren't getting it.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought was he probably the father to the daughter, huh, to the woman pregnant. Because I find that most of the time it's the parents who are always the last ones to know, you know, whenever it happens, that the girls end up pregnant.
I had a teacher tell me the same thing when I asked him what they're doing for sex education in the grade school. He said, well, I think they should get it at home. I said, well, I agree, but how many do? I didn't.
The thing I remember the most is being told to, keep my dress down. And that's the basic information. Keep your dress down and everything will be okay.
It's amazing to me that because this issue is not discussed at home many times, it's still the case that it's not being discussed at home, these same parents are not willing to let the schools take the responsibility.
Yes, I feel that many people at home feel as though they've done the job, let's not do it in the schools. But they've not covered everything, and I feel that, therefore, this should be done in the schools and covered at an early age, early enough for them to understand and early enough for them to pick it up as they progress along, not after the fact.
And I've worked in special education, and I could relate better with some of my students there than I could at home, because it was strictly, truthful, and they didn't have anything to hide from me because I wasn't trying to pry, and we just talked openly, and in dealing with some of my children, I found out they kind of thought maybe I didn't quite trust them or I was trying to pry, because I know in relating with David, he was kind of defensive. And I think if he could get it properly through the school, he wouldn't be embarrassed. And he could say some things to me better than he would now. So if he could be taught this in school, we both could relate to each other much better.
Seems like we're seeing that there are a lot of different layers, information about the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect, and that maybe no one place, whether it be school or home, can meet all those needs.
Well, would the question be, how would somebody behave who was appropriately sexually educated? Who is that and what do they do?
Different.
Yeah, different than anybody else.
Well, that person would know how to avoid venereal disease and how to avoid pregnancy. And I suppose certainly they'd know what their own feelings were and how to make decisions. And
Well, I think the big thing, though, is that being comfortable to talk about it. Not knowing the answers, but, I couldn't talk about sex with my wife even.
well,